Hey guys, welcome back. In the last episode, I talked a little bit about developing and identifying and nurturing your superpower as an entrepreneur. I think that can apply to just about anyone, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. We all have gifts that help us get through this life in our own unique way. But one of the things I want to touch about in this video is how to get ahead of 99% of people starting out with just one move. Context to this, I think it's really important as an entrepreneur. One of the mindsets that served me well, I'll say, is that I tend to zig when other people zag. I tend to think like, if there's 1,000 people waiting in line for an iPhone, like what's the better option? Where's there an opportunity? And because of that way of thinking, I've started to realize that certain things aren't necessarily common sense to people. It's like crazy that I'm in my 30s and it's just dawning on me that things to me that feel like first-hand nature or feel like second nature are just not necessarily common sense to other people, or they're just not things other people practice. I'm wanting to talk about two moves to stand out against 99% of other people starting out. But the first move that I was going to discuss in this video was just having integrity. Being a person of integrity, doing what you say you're going to do. And this kind of ties into the last video where I talked about superpowers. Mine in particular is having the ability to have a high level of discernment between people and situations. So I extrapolate out smaller sample sizes, these little microcosms of an experience with someone, and I can extrapolate it out into what would that bigger picture look like? What would it feel like? Will we be successful if we're starting a business together? Or it helps me make decisions in terms of people and projects. So with that, I think I touched a little bit of this idea of integrity and being a person that's consistent in terms of doing what you say. And I think that's like the number one thing. Like, we all have friends that are like, I already know that, I've read that book, I've done this thing. And that kind of goes down to this path of like being more intentional as well, where it's like, why are you even setting out to read that book? Like, it's cool that you're doing that thing, or you're like, we're just coming into a new year, right? So it's January 2024 right now. And this past December and November, I was around family and like celebrating and all that. And well, people are relaxing. A lot of people like to read books and unwind and do things. And for me, I'm just like, I'm that person that gets in an argument over the dishwasher and like how it's supposed to be loaded, because like, why? Like, why are you doing it the way that you're doing it or whatever? And so I want to understand things. It's not my intent to be combative by nature. And so that's something that I am constantly working on. But why even go about reading that book on your holiday break or your Christmas break or whatever? What's the point of it? Like, what are you going to do with it once you've read it? Like, how is it going to contribute to your life? Like, I have so many friends that have read this, they know all the books. They're much more well-read than I am, but they don't implement the things that they've read, or they don't live the things that they read. And so it really begs the question of what is learning? And I think Alex Hormozi defines it really well, in that he kind of goes through this example of like, if I smack you on the hand and you, when I pull out a red card and I smack you on the hand, and then I pull out a blue card and I do nothing, and I pull out a red card and I smack you on the hand. It's like the person that implements the learning or the feedback of, when the red card comes out, I need to pull my hand away. And so I look at that very much the same in terms of whatever it is that you're working on. Be intentional with it. Know why you're doing it. Why do you want to get rich? Why do you want to get wealthy? Why do you want to build a company? And again, kind of going full circle into the previous video, it's like, for me, I can see the end before it begins. I've had some success in my life early on, and now I'm at this place where there's a monumental mountain that I'm trying to climb here, and I know that the money isn't the end all be all. Like, having the money, having the things, having cars and boats and big house and all that, like, I know enough and I can assume enough that while I've never made $1 billion, while I've yet to make $1 million, I know what that would feel like in either of those scenarios, just doing it for the money. And so for me, I started working backwards to be like, why do I even want this? Like, why is this important to me? And I think a lot of times people, I know for me, like, it's weird to come face to face with that because it's like, oh, I'm just greedy, or I shouldn't want to have this desire. My belief is that God puts those things in you to have the desire, to have nice things, to have abundance for some reason, because it's going to be really hard and kind of sucky to get there, right? Like this YouTube video, it's one of my first 10, right? It's going to not be the best. It's going to suck. And it takes a lot of falling on your face constantly to get to the point where you start getting some traction, right? And so your desire for those, to have abundance, to have these things, is really important because it's the thing that gets you through. But I think it's good to question and understand why. For me, I think some of the highest moments that I've had have been during the lowest moments of my life. For example, 2023 was really hard, and like one of the most rewarding things would be like going to the grocery store and paying for the person in front of me, knowing I have no money coming in, knowing that I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to make it work, I don't know where the money's going to come from, whatever, and paying for somebody else's stuff while they might not even know what's going on. And I certainly, it's not my intent to tell them my life story. It was really rewarding to see how other people received it, how I was able to touch somebody else and, just take a moment out to let them know somebody else cares about them. And so I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I want to go back. So number one is, if you can be a person of integrity, if you can do the things that you say you're going to do, if you can show up when you say you're going to show up, if you can follow through on the things you say you're going to follow through on, I think that will literally stand you out from 99% of people. If you just do and say the things that come out of your mouth, if you show up. And I think backing into that, like, why be intentional, right? Like, number one, it's something you're going to need to practice once you start to become an entrepreneur. You got to fulfill orders. You need to fulfill agreements with your partners or whoever. And so practicing integrity is going to set you up for success there, but it's also going to make you become the kind of person other people want to be around. Like, people want to be around somebody that's inspiring. People want to be around somebody that's confident. How do you get confident? You show up for yourself. You do the things you tell yourself you're going to do. You go to the gym even though you don't want to. You go to that wedding or that funeral or that thing that you don't want to do. It's like not your number one priority, but there's a reason for you that you're doing it, right? And so, like, for me, I'm like constantly in this process of self-improvement. And after a while, whatever it is, it should become kind of fun, actually. It should become a game for you. Knowing that you're constantly working at getting better, it should become enjoyable. So becoming a person of integrity is really, really important. I'm really grateful. It's not one that I've had to fight super hard for. Like, to me, it's mind-blowing how many people make plans or they just say yeah to things and they really have no intention of going to that event or showing up at that thing, or they're going to flake out. Listen, we all have our moments. I've had mine, but they're far and few between. And I think if you do that, if you become a person of integrity, you can stand out from 99% of people. I should probably stop the video here, drop the mic, that should be it. But I want to take it a step further to say become a person of intentionality. So understanding why you're doing the things that you're doing, not just doing things for no reason, but like becoming really intentional. I actually went to the same high school as Gary Vee. And I'm pretty sure we had the same guidance counselor because mine said some very similar things in terms of like, you'll never be anything, don't go to college, you're a bum, whatever. And I like Gary Vee, where I was going with this is I used to use profanity quite frequently, and sometimes I still do, but it's something I've become really mindful of because who you are in terms of your integrity and your intentionality becomes your brand. And as all of you have seen, there's the influencer marketplace of things and partnerships and whatever. Like, it's a real thing. Like, your brand reminds people of a story that they want to be immersed in or not. Think about Kia, right? Kia as an automotive company, or Hyundai, 10 or 20 years ago, they were like the laughing stock, right? Like, you would literally see one and it was like they had to do a 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty to make you like believe that this thing was going to last for a little while. Their designs were bad. The whole thing was a wreck. It wasn't a brand you wanted to see yourself in. And now they, with a couple hero cars and some ways that they've positioned themselves and getting really amazing designers, having really consistent design language and being intentional and showing up consistently in this new identity that they've stepped into, they've become a brand that people want to be involved with, and they can see their lives being associated with that brand. So it's the same for you. It's the same for me. And so I've been becoming a lot more intentional with the words that I use. I also think one of the issues with profanity too can be the words are lazy. They're not really descriptive, right? It's like using thing or stuff or whatever. Whatever is a good example too. It's like they're not descriptive words. You've told me nothing by using them. And so I've been trying to challenge myself to become more intentional with the words that I speak. I want to speak blessings over people's lives that I'm around. I want to add value to the people I'm around. I want to add value to myself. Intentionality is a huge component, and I think it actually kind of becomes a piece of your integrity. Like if you're a person that's consistently intentional in what you do and the knowledge that you seek, I think they're kind of related, and that's kind of why I bring them both up. I hope this serves you. I hope this helps you, and thanks for being with me today.